In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the brand new, just released Evolution double bevel sliding miter saw. And what makes this saw unique is that it runs on two 20-volt lithium-ion batteries. So that makes it the perfect off-grid miter saw for all your builds. Now there's no more messing with generators, power stations, and extension cords when working off-grid. The saw and accessories were sent to me by Evolution for the purpose of making this video, and the saw that I will be reviewing today is called their loaded version. That means it comes with two 5 amp hour batteries and a dual charger that is capable of charging the batteries from 0 to full charge in only 60 minutes. Of course, the saw can also be purchased as a tool only if you already have Evolution batteries and want to save some money. And be sure to check out the links that I have in the description of the video for current price info and special bundle packages that Evolution may be offering. This is an off-grid saw, and today I plan on taking it outside and doing some testing with it. And I need a way to easily move it around and set it up, so I'm going to be showing the saw with the Evolution miter saw stand. This does not come with the saw, it is a separate purchase, but like I said earlier, check out the links in the description because Evolution does plan on having bundle packages along with this saw. Okay, so I've moved outside where I'm going to be working off-grid, and I'm going to start off by just cutting some old junky pallet wood pieces that I've got here. I think some of them even have some nails in it. So this is a good opportunity to show you guys what this multi-material blade is capable of doing. And I'm going to start out by locking the saw all the way back in place just by turning this lever right here. And this one has some nails right here in the end. Let's see how well this cuts. Next, I'm going to be cutting this 2x6. It's the same old stinky old pallet wood, but I do need to unlock the slide so that I can make the cut. Okay, and here is a quick look of what it did to the 2x4 pallet wood. Nice, clean cuts. And here is the piece that had the nails in it, and I did slice it up twice. And then after cutting through those nails, I did cut into this 2x6 a couple of times, and you can see it did a pretty good job. So cutting those junky old 2x4s and 2x6s was a breeze with this saw. It chewed right through them, nice clean cuts, even if they had nails in them. So that gives you an idea of what this can do with wood. Let's move on to something else like aluminum. And I'm going to start out with some 2-inch angled aluminum that is 1/8 of an inch thick. And I do want to point out that the saw does come with two hold down clamps. One is horizontal and the other one is vertical. And I will be using the horizontal clamp to hold this piece of aluminum into place. And before I cut any metal on this saw, I do want to point out that it's a good idea to wear a full face mask when you're cutting metal or anything for that matter with this saw, because wood is okay, glasses are okay, but when you're cutting metal, the sawdust that flies off of this can be pretty nasty. Don't ask me how I know, but just take my word for it, use a full face mask. All right, so you can see it made a nice clean cut in this 1/8 inch thick aluminum. And if you were paying attention, as soon as I made that cut, I was able to grab this piece right off of the saw. It is not hot at all. That carbide blade does an excellent job of cutting. That's something you definitely can't do with something like an abrasive saw. All right, so now let's try something a little bit different. Let's make a miter cut in this aluminum. And I had to switch over to the vertical hold down clamp because the horizontal one would get in the way. Okay, so I ran back here in the shop because it was kind of hard to show this to you guys outside, but there are some of the miter cuts I made in this 2-inch aluminum. And I just want to show you how clean this miter cut is. So there it is, all lined up, and you can see it is nice. Oops, it is nice and square. If I put my Fireball tool square on here. So yeah, this thing makes really decent miter cuts in this aluminum. Next, let's try some 1.5 inch square tube. This is aluminum and it has a 1/8 inch wall thickness. Let's see how well it cuts. And here's what that 1.5 inch square tube looks like after it's been cut on the sliding miter saw. Okay, so let's move on to something else. I've got some 1-inch angle iron here with an 1/8 inch wall thickness. Let's see how well this saw will handle it. And here's the angle iron after I cut it with the Evolution saw, and here is the little piece that I cut off. It does have a little burr right there on the end, but that can easily be cleaned up. And I probably should have cleaned or cut off a larger piece than this because it went flying across the yard and I had to go find it because I didn't want any flat tires or anything if I drove over it. Now let's try some 1.5 inch square tube. This is steel and yes, it has a 1/8 inch wall thickness. So here is what that square tube looks like after it was cut on the saw. Here is the other piece. It did leave a little burr right here on the end, but that's not too bad. That can be easily cleaned up. Next up, let's try some plastic. This is some King Color Core, and it's used by sign makers to make signs on CNC machines, and it's 1/2 inch thick, and this is some high density plastic. Let's see how well it will cut. All right, no problems at all cutting this Color Core. Nice, clean cut. And remember, we've already cut wood with nails in it, aluminum and steel at this point, and we're still getting nice, clean, crisp edges on our cuts. Next, let's try some high density polyurethane. This is also used by sign makers to make signs on CNC machines. And no issues at all going through that high density polyurethane. You can see it made very nice, clean cuts. Okay, so far we have cut wood with nails in it, aluminum, steel, and plastic. Let's go back now and cut some wood and see if that multi-material blade is cutting just as good as it did on those first cuts. And there we go, that's what that last cut looks like on this 2x4 pallet wood. So it started to rain on me out there behind the shop and I had to move everything inside. And yes, the saw is cordless, but no, it is not waterproof. And that presented the perfect opportunity for me to show you the cordless vacuum cleaner that Evolution also sent me to try out along with this saw. And yes, it is cordless. It uses the same type batteries as the saw. And Evolution claims that it will pick up 97% of the sawdust that is created when you plug it into the dust port on the back of the miter saw. And you can see I've got the saw set up here on the floor, and you can see the floor is all clean. So is the saw. I've cleaned all of this off. And I've just got a piece of a 2x4 here that I'm going to cut into several times. Let's see how well this vacuum will pick up the sawdust. Okay, so there was 3 cuts of a 2x4. You can see there's a little bit of sawdust right here on the front. Right here in the back is where the most of it accumulated. And if we look here on the floor, there's just a little bit right here behind the vacuum that fell down on the ground on the back side of the saw. Okay, so you've seen how much sawdust is left when the vacuum is used. Now let's make 3 cuts without the vacuum and then compare the results. All right, so there's plenty more sawdust created when the vacuum is not used. You can see that it threw the sawdust out here on the front. There wasn't any here when the vacuum was used. There's sawdust here along the fence. And if we look here on the back of the saw, you can see there is a considerable amount more piled up here. It's also all over the back. And if we look here on the floor, you can see there is a lot more sawdust that just got thrown down here onto the shop floor. All right, let's try one last thing with this saw. Let's set it up to make some bevel cuts. I've got the saw set to 22.5 degrees, and I've also moved the fence out of the way so that the blade won't hit it as it comes down at an angle. And I'm just going to make a 22.5 degree bevel cut into this 2x4. And that's what the 22.5 degree bevel cut looks like. All right, so there's one final thing I want to show you about the saw, and that is the battery capacity. We started out with 2 fully charged 5 amp hour batteries, and I've made anywhere between 40 and 50 cuts by now. And some of those have been on camera, and there's been a few off camera. But if I hit the little indicators here on the front of the batteries, you can see they still have 3 out of 4 bars capacity left in each battery. So that's my review on the Evolution 40 volt sliding compound miter saw. And if you want to check out one of these for yourself, be sure and click on the links that I've got down in the description, because that will show you the current pricing information and also the different packages that Evolution may be offering on this saw. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please smash that like button. Give me that big thumbs up. And if you aren't a subscriber, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell so you don't miss any upcoming Making Stuff videos. And thanks for watching.